Have you ever seen a branch grow straight out like this one? This is a Chinese elm, and this limb grows for 40 feet horizontal without any cables or underneath support. I'm truly amazed. I've never seen a branch grow this far out. But there are some problems. You know, a lot of my videos, I like to show you individual things that I find during the week. And if you are interested in trees, I want you to learn to look closely at trees and see all the little things, like this weeping. Clearly, there's an incredible amount of stress. Look at this little crack on the underside of the branch. When it pushes down, the bark has no place to go, but it pops open a little bit due to all this incredible stress. Now, the ivy is never a good idea up in a tree. I've seen trees completely absorbed with ivy. And what they can do is they can cut out the sun to the foliage of the tree and cause the tree to die back. Now, I want you to pay attention to all these little wrinkles and stress reminders of what's going on. Look at that thing. That thing is incredible. I suggested to him that he put a support under it. He did take some weight off the end. And at the same job, there was a very, very large deodar cedar that had multiple tops. This one also had one very large side top. And unfortunately, it had a big section break and hit the neighbor's house. So weight reduction was very important. There was a lot of broken limbs from the recent windstorm that we had. So even though it wasn't the best time of year, it's starting to get warm, we felt that it was probably a good idea. And look at that. Who would plant a redwood and then forget it? Okay, let's talk about wounds and wound sealants or covering up wounds. In one of my more recent videos, I had a lot of questions about, can I paint the wound? Can I put a sealant on it? Can I cap it somehow? Well, clearly somebody capped this a long time ago with concrete. And as you can see, it was of no use. There's another tree that has this is also a Japanese maple, has a very tight crotch. And you can see how that crotch is gathering a lot of leaf matter, which is turning into soil, which is killing it. And unfortunately, there are a lot of issues. You can see the drying out and the cracking on the wood, very likely from verticillium wilt, which is a common disease of Japanese maples. And while the tree looks beautiful, you have to look deeper. You have to look closer. There's another shot from the side. And I have to ask myself, why was that large trunk taken off in the first place? Well, it's probably because it was over the parking area and went out and possibly got clipped by a vehicle, or maybe it was just in the way. But you can see there's a lot of upper canopy dieback associated with these decay pockets. They had yet another Japanese maple, and they took off another limb on that one. Now, did that limb die, and that's what they cut back, or was it in the way? All right, let's carry on to yet another job. I'm showing you as an assortment of different jobs and consultations and things I looked at. I was asked to go look at this oak tree that was impacted by another oak tree, which I'll show you in a bit, that split and fell apart. And the client wanted to know if they could save this tree. And from what I could see, there was 3 main limbs on it, and one limb was completely damaged, and the other limb was also damaged so much that all there would have been left was one side limb. And here is some of the impact from the tree that failed. There's a long, interesting story, which I'll tell you. I'll put a link to the consultation, but here's the tree. The owner wants to put an ADU unit right here. So a year ago, he asked me to look at the tree and see if the tree had any problems. So I did a consultation, a video consultation, and I'll put a link to it in the description area here. And I recommended removal because of the decay. And the city, the town that this man lives in, said that they wanted more than one arborist report. So he hired 2 other arborists, and both of the other arborists said that the tree was okay. I clearly knew that this tree was not okay. I could see the evidence. I could see the areas of likely decay, but it was all sealed up. And once a tree is opened up and reveal what's going on, then you can look at the areas on the outside and have a better idea of what possibly could be going wrong. You have to look at all the old wounds that have completely been absorbed by the new tissue and realize that inside of those old wounds is likely decay. So this tree still, half of it or more than half of it is still up in the air, and it's got to come down. So this guy's prayers were answered because the town said no to removing the tree, which put a complete stop on his project. And he was afraid he'd lose a lot of money because he had the architectural drawings and everything already done. But when the tree fell apart, of course, the town has to say, yeah, okay, you can take the tree out. I recommended that the other tree that was impacted be removed at the same time. Now, this person is not removing any of the branches or any of the tree yet because he wants it to be firmed up by the town saying, yes, absolutely, this tree is a hazard, you must take it out. And then he can carry on and do his ADU unit. Some people just, they can't see clearly. And it takes a long time of reading trees, learning to see the potential areas of decay, the potential areas of what may be going on, but also understanding those trees. So we're off to yet another job. Like I say, this video is about all the different things I went to. I need a cameraman sometimes. I'm so busy doing the work that a lot of times the stuff I capture is just me setting the camera down and hoping for the best. This was a interesting job. It was a very, very large Arizona cypress, and during the windstorms, many huge limbs up on the top broke out, but they all hung up. The wood on this tree is very tenuous, and it holds on really, really well. Even if it breaks, it's up there. So I've got Jorge in the tree, and we're roping it and trying to set it up, but because it fell downward, all of the branches that were going out were hooking on everything. So there was about 3 or 4 fairly large pieces that I had to get out. But it was this job was really a pain. And on top of all that, the timing. This time of year, the springtime, these particular trees put out an abundant amount of pollen, which made my job of working underneath this tree very hard. You notice I'm wearing a mask. Very important when you're working in trees with a lot of pollen in them because you'll be choking on this stuff and your eyes will be hurting. I did not have adequate eye protection. I just had my screen. There we get the first branch down. Jorge had to go back up there and cut and cut and cut, all the side branches that were hanging it up, and it was still a pain to get out. We had the rope going up and down. I was managing it for part of the time, and then he was managing it after I finished up. Okay, down. Down. Okay. There was another interesting problem that we had. They put in a brand new sod lawn and they're watering it really well. So we had to be careful. Here's some of that pollen I was talking about. I was just shaking some of these branches. I just was showing what the pollen was like, but clouds of this stuff were coming down. And there's the finished work. That's what both of these trees look like. A lot of the branches were broken and hanging out all over the place. Purple leaf flowering plum. The upper canopy of this tree is entirely dead. It's only got some foliage down low. And I spotted a problem down here that's pretty serious. You've got the beginning stages of a fungal organism called a Ganoderma applanatum. There's an older one. That means this whole area of the trunk is decaying. This branch is dead. This center branch right here is dead and cracking. So this side over here is also dead and cracked. So if I end up pruning this tree, you're not going to have a whole lot left. So what are your thoughts? Now the homeowner wasn't here, and I did that brief little 1-minute video consultation and texted it to him so he could make a decision, and he texted me back. He said, yeah, you're right, just cut it down. But I wanted to go a step further and show what the wood looks like in the areas where this fungal activity is growing. And clearly, you can see what's dead and rotting, as well as how much life is left in the tree. Now, there was his wife was a bit concerned. She said, well, can't we just cut all the dead out? Won't it live? I said, well, yeah, it'll live for a while, but it will continue to go downhill. So I think removal was the best decision in this case. And that's what it looks like on the ground.